We're here today to talk about a hot topic for ESG reporting in recent months, and that is nature. And normally when we talk about the E in ESG for environment, we're usually focused in on climate, but nature is in fact being touted as the next climate. I'm joined by Sheila Stanley in our sustainability reporting team. Sheila, can you tell us a little bit more about what nature means in the context of financial services?
So to start off with, let's just take a look very quickly at what nature is. So nature is basically the air that we breathe, the land that we walk on, the forest that we are surrounded by, the animals, freshwater lakes, our marine ecosystems, all that constitutes nature. Now, when it comes to financial services basically are channeling their investments to companies and businesses that are dependent on nature and the various ecosystem services that it provides. What we've found most recently is that financial services is doing a lot of reporting with regards to climate change, and they haven't really been focusing on other aspects of nature, which by right they should, because companies are basically looking to banks for, funding, for loans. They're looking to insurance companies, provide them insurance. And all this is going to impact nature. The business activities are going to impact nature in various different ways. And these impacts then translate to risks and opportunities for financial institutions.
So Sheila, it's probably fair to say that financial institutions are comfortable with what they need to report on from a climate perspective. But what about nature? What kind of things do they need to consider when it comes to their nature reporting?
So if you think about pollution, right? If you think about a marine oil spill, for example, a lot of financial institutions are classifying that as a climate-related risk. And the reality is, although it will have some interrelation with climate, it's actually more to do with marine life and the impact it's having on biodiversity and ecosystems within the marine ecosystem. And that's something that financial institutions, they aren't at a level of maturity where they're able to sort of work through all the risks associated with it from a nature perspective.
So Sheila, with that in mind, what are the reporting obligations that financial institutions will have in the near future, and how can they best prepare?
Let's talk about the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive first, because that mandates the reporting on the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, right? Now, under the ESRS, the environmental topical standards under the ESRS actually encapsulates all the elements to do with nature. So climate change is just one aspect, but it also covers pollution, it covers biodiversity and ecosystems, it covers water and marine resources, and it also covers resource use and the circular economy. And a lot of financial institutions are just focusing on reporting under climate change, when the reality is they need to start looking at everything else. Now, it's also interesting that the ESRS, while it doesn't mandate it, it does highly recommend that when it comes to pollution, water and marine resources, biodiversity and ecosystems, that undertakings that are reporting under the ESRS look at the TNFD LEAP framework, which is basically a nature-based reporting framework. This is something that financial institutions need to start considering and integrate into their risk management process.
Thank you so much for that, Sheila. It's going to be really interesting to see how everything develops over the next few years.
Thanks for having me, Doreen.